Okay, so let's talk about sex. Are there any sex myths? We've kind of been talking about relationships and the communication, but are there myths around sex that you would love to debunk?
Oh my God, there's so many. I mean, so many of them really cycle around this idea that like sex should be natural and easy and effortless, like even the sex itself too. And what we actually love teaching is so much of like sexual technique. Like so many of us feel like we're just supposed to automatically be great in bed. But I love to say that sex is a skill. And like any other skill, like learning how to play the guitar, learning how to speak Spanish, like it's something that we have to learn. You don't fly out of the womb just instantly speaking Spanish, playing the guitar. Like we expect that we need to take time to learn it, and sex is really the same. But it's so tricky because like, where do you learn how to give a great blowjob? Where do you learn how to get it in doggy style? Like, so we love teaching like those specific nuances and logistics of sex.
Yeah, to anyone that says, oh, well, it's supposed to be natural or instinctual or whatever, I would say, well, yeah, maybe just the purely biological version of it, like the, you know, get it in, couple pumps, like we're done, like we're making a baby. Yeah, that part might be somewhat more instinctual, but ask yourself, is that the kind of sex you want to be having on an ongoing basis in a relationship when you're not trying to conceive? Like that's not going to be very enjoyable. It's not going to bring you closer together. So yeah, why are we so fixated on it having to be this natural thing? Especially, you know, we live in a society, relatively puritanical society where we don't talk very openly about it. We don't see like proper technique portrayed anywhere. All the examples we see on movies and in TV are, little, quick, short little scenes of things that are not very accurate. And like, the woman is orgasming from penetration in like 2 seconds simultaneously with the guy. There, I just teed you up for another myth.
Yeah, we have to talk about the penetration myth. Like every sex scene you see on TV and movies between a man and a woman, she's orgasming from the penetration alone.
From like 5 seconds of it.
Yeah, I know. Super fast. Exact same time that he does. It's always so nice and neat. But the reality is that 85 to 90% of women can't orgasm from penetration alone. And that's because when you're having penetration, you're getting stimulation of your vagina. Your vagina is just not wired to feel very much sensation. Like think about how painful people always talk about childbirth being. Like we don't want that to be a super innervated area. It would be even more excruciating. The most sensitive part of our body is the clitoris. And the clitoris, sadly, is not getting very much stimulation or attention during penetration. So the comparison that I always make is like from a nerve ending standpoint, intercourse for a woman is like playing with a man's balls. It might be fun, it might be kind of pleasurable, but it's certainly not anywhere near the level of stimulation you need to reach orgasm. So if we want women to enjoy sex more, which by the way is also going to lead them to desire sex more, we need to make sure that we are stimulating the part of their body that is hardwired to feel the most pleasure. Like just imagine some alternate universe where intercourse involves zero touching or stimulation of the penis. Like we wouldn't make men feel bad for like, why are you not enjoying this? Why are you not having wild orgasms from this? It's like, no,
it's all
you're not touching my penis. Like, of course I'm not going to have an orgasm. So you need to think of the clitoris the exact same way.
I feel like it's getting more, I don't know, publicity, right?
More, like we're talking about the clitoris more, but it's in this kind of derogatory way still. Like, oh, the clitoris, where is it? It's hard to find. Does it even exist? Like, it's not that difficult to find. It's not, there's nothing complicated or mysterious about it either. It's like, stimulate it in the same way that you would stimulate a penis. Like we understand penises like different things. Play around with the speed, with the pressure that you're using, the stroke that you're using. It's the exact same thing for the clitoris. It's not any more difficult.
Yeah, and I think where a lot of people kind of hear this and go wrong is they're thinking we're saying throw intercourse out the window. Like, oh, well, like if I'm a man and intercourse is the most pleasurable activity for me, are you trying to tell me that I shouldn't be doing that I'm doing the wrong thing with my partner? And it's like, that is absolutely not what we are saying. It's just consider when you are having intercourse, is the clitoris getting any stimulation? What can one or both of us do to help add some stimulation? What are positions that we can do that may have a bit more stimulation for the clitoris? What are some modifications that we could make to positions that we love that might add a little bit more spice, so to speak, or give good opportunities for, a finger or a toy to be involved? Because I think especially amongst men, there's this idea that like being able to give her an orgasm with just your penis is like the be all end all. And unfortunately, so many men get this in their heads because maybe they've had early sexual experiences with someone where, that person hasn't been entirely realistic with them about how pleasurable or not it really was. Because, this is a
lot
very...
of faking. I did a lot of faking in my younger years.
The deck is kind of stacked against women in this regard. Like women want to stroke his ego and show him that you're doing a good job. Like there's this expectation that, okay, we're having intercourse, so I'm supposed to come, right? And so then, maybe then the guy has the experience. Oh yeah, well, all my partners in the past, it hasn't been a problem.
So he thinks he's doing an amazing job.
But do you really know that? I don't think you really know for sure. So it's not about how did it work for your last partners, because every body is different too. Like we got to figure out with our current partner what is going to be the most pleasurable and start adding that into the repertoire, or adding that in along with the intercourse.
And porn too. It's that's where so many people are getting their information from, and it's just not realistic.
It's so important to remember that porn is meant to be entertainment. It's specifically like shot to look really visually appealing. Like everything's exaggerated to catch your attention. And especially the more and more porn that gets produced, like we have to make more and more intense porn to like really capture people's attention. So I've heard someone say before, it's like trying to watch porn and learn how to have sex from that is like watching Fast and Furious and thinking that's how you drive.
Oh God.
It's a totally different thing. Yeah. But unfortunately, if that's the only sex education you're getting, if you're watching a lot of porn and seeing these kinds of things play out over and over again, you start thinking that's what I'm supposed to do. That's what it's expected. That's what everybody else is doing.
And whether people are in a long-term relationship or they're just dating around, because I'm sure not my entire audience is in a long-term relationship, and they feel like the chemistry isn't there, the sex is not great, it's kind of awkward. Do you think that that's something that everybody can work through just by communication and some of these tactics that you have in your book and your podcast, your courses, everything? You guys are such a great resource. But do you ever think that there's just not compatibility at the end of the day?
I do. Like, I don't think you could pluck two random people off the streets and, teach them how to have great sex together. Like, we have to have a certain baseline with each other. But I also think that chemistry is something that we create. It's not something that just falls out of the sky into our laps. We have to create it. Like, we're very open about the fact that the first time we had sex, it was fine.
It was adequate.
It was perfectly serviceable, but it was not like the heavens opening up and,
And you both had the same experience?
Yes, unfortunately.
It's stressful. Every first time I've had sex with someone, like I don't think I've ever had a great first time with someone. It's anxiety provoking.
Yeah. So it's like, it's just really important to normalize that. Like it took us some time to like figure out what our groove was and to figure out how our unique bodies fit together and what we like and how to communicate about it. So there was enough there to keep us both like, let's try that again. Let's see how that goes. It wasn't like there was nothing, but also like where we started compared to where we have now built up to is crazy. So I do want to encourage people like, yes, look for that baseline that you have with somebody, but also recognize that what you're really looking for in a partner is somebody who's willing to build a sex life with you. Just like you have to build a relationship together. Like you're looking for somebody that you can do hard things with, that you can do life with. It's the same thing with sex. Like we want to look for somebody that's willing to like, I want to communicate with you. I want to figure out what you like. I want to try different things.
Yeah, there's definitely compatibility when it comes to what type of sex it is that you desire. I think that for the most part, most people are closer on that than they realize. Of course, there are going to be some extreme examples. Like say you get into a relationship with someone and you come to find out that like actually they are really into BDSM and you are really into just kind of vanilla sex. Like that might be a challenging gap to bridge, right? But I think the vast majority of people are way closer on that than they think. So if that's your case, I think that the most important thing is like, are both partners willing to work on it? Are you willing to consider your partner's preferences? Are you willing to do things with them or try things with them that maybe you haven't seen portrayed in movies or in porn, right? Like, do you really genuinely care about your partner's pleasure? And I think that's a huge one that we, hear so often from people in our community. Is it's like, it feels like my partner just doesn't actually really care about my experience very much. Mm-hmm. And I think that, like that is really where the incompatibility is, where it's like, if you are starting to have these conversations and what you are finding out is your partner is just totally not open to having them, or they're just like, they hear it and it's kind of in one ear and out the other. Like, okay, well, we keep talking about how I need more clitoral stimulation and then it never happens. Like, that is where I would say, there's an incompatibility of just like, of your desire to show up for each other.